It's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over decades. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year.
You have BlackRock entering the fray, and also, by the way, Citadel and Schwab and Fidelity backing EDX Markets, the crypto exchange that also launched this week. What does it signal?
Look, I think it's great that the traditional financial services firms are coming around to the technological innovation that's been going on for the last really 14 years since the birth of Bitcoin, but really the last 5 years have been the acceleration. And we knew that eventually the big firms would find their way into the space. But I actually think it's a validation of one, the technology, and two, validation of business models saying that, look, this is here to stay. Well, I think the rally is just beginning. You know, we just entered what's called the seasonal period of crypto summer. There's this 4-year cycle around something called the halving, which is where the block rewards for the Bitcoin blockchain change every 4 years. That causes a period of accumulation going into that. That event will occur next April. That's called crypto summer. Then we usually get a speculative blow off after the halving event, and then a overreaction on the downside called crypto winter. So, you know, last week, June 15th was kind of the bridge into the 10 months coming into the halving. It just happened to coincide with BlackRock announcing their ETF. And we're up, I think, 14, 15% since that announcement. But I think the rally is just beginning over the next year.
I'm just not convinced that this matters in a bold-faced way. I mean, it seems to me that crypto and Web3 kind of lost the narrative. This was supposed to be the future of finance and the future of, you know, technology. A lot of people, the future of commerce, a lot of people were saying. Now that narrative has moved to AI, and crypto is sort of more in the metaverse bin. Why is that wrong? And does this move and others like it that we're talking about today, does that move crypto and Bitcoin specifically any closer to being in charge of the narrative again?
Well, I think the narrative's actually completely wrong. The idea that the digital assets are in the waste bin, you know, seems kind of silly to me. We're talking about a $1.2 trillion asset from zero 14 years ago, $500 billion in Bitcoin alone.
Well, but we're not talking
kind of
about
silly to say we're not talking
about NFTs or virtual real estate in the same way anymore. People aren't trying to buy the virtual place next to Snoop Dogg's house. Like, people are concerned about actual commercial real estate right now.
Well, no, that's been the whole point all along, right? Blockchain technology is one of the 4 pillars of the digital age, the ABCDs, as we call them. That's AI, blockchain technology, computer chips, and data. Those 4 things are transforming the way we store and exchange value. The same way that media was completely disrupted by the internet, and the value of the biggest media assets went to new assets, the same thing's happening in financial services. It's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over decades. But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have Mark Yusko coming in with some truth. Yes, everything's going to be tokenized and put on blockchain. But we know he leaves out the 4th industrial revolution. He leaves out that the robots, algorithms, and drones are about to take over the economy, and the sheep are going inside the metaverse. And we see the mainstream media pushing BlackRock and these other companies applying for these spot Bitcoin ETFs. But guys, we know the big banks and big corporations have been funding crypto from the beginning. They just been doing it behind the curtain. Only thing you have to do is look at the funding rounds. That's the reason why I go over it all the time. But guys, we know in order for this digital transformation to happen, the central banks have to destroy this legacy market. That's the reason why we're seeing rates higher for longer. And remember, guys, this is global. Central banks are moving in lockstep. And we know anytime the Fed stops telling us the truth and lets us think that everything is good, that means something bad is around the corner. And we know that main event is coming. We hear those drums are beating. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Brady, what about, though, the odds of the Bitcoin spot ETFs getting approval, right? Because they've tried
I say
this
no
before.
way in the Biden administration. I say no way in the Biden administration. That's my call. I don't think it'll happen.
Interesting. What do you think needs to change in order for it to happen down the line?
A new
Other
administration.
than the administration.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just this administration has just, at this point, with all the things they've done, they've just made it clear that they're not interested in crypto being a part of the U.S. economy, right?
The federal government is a $32 trillion deficit. We're the biggest. We have to pay interest on $32 trillion at higher rates. That number right now is like $660 billion. 5% on $32 trillion is $1.6 trillion, right? We're going to have to keep printing money just to pay the interest expense. Second category, regional banks. You guys have said things are not fine in the regional banks. He can say it all he wants, but the government is basically giving you an implied guarantee on deposits. So there's been no run on the rest of the banks. The banks are not in good shape, the regional banks. They all have commercial real estate loans. We can mark the securities to market.
No, and Janet Yellen has said that she'd be interested in having some of them pair up, having them be bought, having capitalization.
Look, only by the grace of God do some of these regional banks continue to walk. Basically, any group of hedge funds can take one of them down any moment because they can't create liquidity and they can't sell their bonds at market. And they can crystallize these losses. And we can't even look at their commercial real estate loans. We can't figure out how close they are. But you know that the victims of these rate increases are all fixed assets, bonds, real estate, infrastructure. Anything that was a yield is worth less. As I might have mentioned last time, we own a lot of treasuries. It's not productive capital. We're hiding. We're waiting for the fallout. This doesn't feel real. This feels like 07, the rally into 07, 08. I mean,
That's
this is
what I was
so
going to say.
thin.
There have been people who have pointed back to that
Yeah,
we thought
I remember what that was like. Yeah.
We had Kevin Warsh on just in the last couple of weeks.
Brilliant
and he
man.
said, look, we all thought we were in the clear after Bear Stearns 2.
Yep.
You had a very fine summer when it came to the markets, but come fall, that's when...
Well, look how thin the rally is. I know it's broadening out a little bit, but it is awfully thin, and these stocks are not cheap now. They can't all be winners of AI.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in an ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. We will, and if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.